This morning, President Trump acknowledging for the first time what economists have warned for weeks, that his tariffs could raise prices on goods for everyday Americans.
Somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally.
All right, with us now, CNN political commentator, former Trump White House communications director, Alyssa Farah-Griffin. You ran communications. Fewer dolls, more expensive. How is that for a communication strategy?
I can picture the White House press shop gasping when they heard that line. Listen, that certainly isn't the message that the White House wants to be conveying. What they need to be leaning into, because there's tremendous market uncertainty over these tariffs, businesses aren't able to be hiring, investing, planning for years ahead because they just simply don't know what Donald Trump is going to do next. But Donald Trump should be leaning into, we haven't gotten to my congressional agenda yet. In Donald Trump's first term, his biggest successes went through Congress, the USMCA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, his deregulatory agenda. And they're gearing up, congressional Republicans are gearing up to potentially deliver him some big wins. So the message I'd give is, if there is this short-term hardship, which we hope there isn't, I have major relief coming on the other side of this. Give me some time. You saw me do it in the first term. Let's see what I can do this term.
Just one more point on the whole doll thing. Let me show you what the New York Post headline is today. I can hold this up. It says, skimp on the Barbie right now. And this is the Rupert Murdoch owned New York Post. How much of a disconnect is when you're talking about dolls, when you're talking about Barbies and trying, it makes it sound insignificant, trite almost. Is there a disconnect with the real pain, or what kind of disconnect might there be with the real pain and sacrifice people have to make?
I'm skeptical that the White House is prepared for how much hardship Americans could feel in a matter of weeks because of these tariffs. We certainly are not yet feeling the full effects of them. But Donald Trump, as CNN reported just last week, met with CEOs of Target, Walmart, some of these major retailers who, by the way, can absorb some of these costs because they're huge. But the impacts that could come to small businesses, the impacts that are going to hit the auto industry, the agriculture industry. You heard it with Dana Bash this weekend, Secretary of Agriculture, basically saying we're almost gearing up to bail out farmers. That's not like a winning first 100-day message. You don't want to put yourself in a position that you then need to bail out farmers. And if I may say, just as a Republican, that's kind of remarkable that we're just advertising we're going to bail someone out. So I think that there's a policy problem on the tariffs that the president does seem to be responding to, pulling some of these back, making them a little bit more targeted. But the messaging is also a disaster.
Some of the messaging has been, and this is something that we've seen before in every administration, blame the old guy. In this case, President Biden, blame the guy who was in office before for the economy now. President Trump tried to do that, his Republican allies doing that very vocally yesterday. How effective a strategy is that?
I think the American people aren't going to buy it, even his supporters, because we saw when Donald Trump was elected, markets rallied. Wall Street was thrilled that Donald Trump was going back into office because I think they were anticipating he would govern like the first term. Free market-based, targeted trade deals, cutting regulation, making it a good investment environment for businesses. But he went a very different direction. He went the Peter Navarro direction of sweeping tariffs across the board, sparking an unnecessary trade war. And that's where we've seen all these market losses since Election Day. So you don't get to claim that the markets, opened on one of their highest days the day after I was elected. But then now what we're seeing is a result of Joe Biden. I don't think it computes with people.
There are a lot of people pointing this out on social media. Not only did President Trump, wrap himself in the stock market after he was elected this time, he claimed that stock market gains under Joe Biden were because of him. I could put these true socials up, these competing true socials up. One is from January 29, 2024. He says, this is the Trump stock market. And then April 30th, 2025, when he's actually in office, he goes, this is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. Sort of a before and after here, Alyssa.
Yeah, that's not going to fly with voters. And I would also point to, we've got these GDP numbers, which are almost even more stark than the market losses, where you see Europe ticking up. Their economies are growing. They're coming back from this sort of global era of inflation. And for the first time, we've been outperforming Europe for several years now. We are the ones falling behind. We are the ones with negative GDP growth. And that's right now under Donald Trump as president.
A deal. How much of a difference would a deal of any kind with another country, however real or comprehensive it might be, how much would that help the president, do you think?
So it would help, and I think that there's a real rush, some efforts underway, especially to get a deal with India, a huge economy, something that would inarguably be beneficial. The problem is, I think the markets will rally and respond positively to a deal because it's a signal, okay, maybe we are just approaching some targeted trade deals. I don't think it changes consumer sentiment and concerns, and I don't think it changes businesses planning long-term for their investment in the United States, because I still think there's so much uncertainty. If you're not affected as a business by a U.S.-India deal, that's not really going to change your plans for your bottom line going into the future projections you're making ahead when you're just simply planning to run your business. So I think it's welcome, but I certainly think it's a Band-Aid on a much bigger wound.
Alyssa Farah-Griffin, great to see you this morning.